And we're back! The mobile version. This is the first part of episode 10. We're going to do a little bit of car recording. And I'm your host, Jack.
This is Rob.
He's driving. I'm in the passenger seat. Interesting thing about driving in Berlin is the passenger can drink alcohol in the car, but the driver can't.
He can.
But since it's 11 o'clock and
The driver cannot drink alcohol.
The driver can't drink.
You're allowed to have like a 0.5%.
No, while you're driving.
While you're driving, you cannot drink while you're driving, Jules.
In the driver's seat.
Berlin, it's just a suggestion.
Yeah, it's true. Everything's just a suggestion in Berlin. Rules.
You can be on half an ecstasy tab.
Rules are suggestions. We should talk about that a little bit.
So there's some minor differences, but major to some. When driving in Germany, the first and foremost one to me is that you can't take a free right turn on a red light.
Yeah.
And that's a drag because you don't realize how much you use that until
you want it.
until you're forced not to, and then it really sucks.
Yeah, you don't even need a cigarette until somebody tells you it's no smoking. Then you really want a cigarette. What's the biggest difference about driving in Germany than in driving in the States?
Well, I think most people would point to the Autobahn.
Autobahn's famous.
Some people think that the Autobahn is like a specific road.
Right.
Actually, most people in the U.S. I think like there's like one highway where you can have like unlimited speeds, and really
The Autobahn.
Yeah, and Autobahn is just German for highway. So
Right.
you can't always go unlimited speeds all the time. I mean, there's some limitations, and there's stretches of the Autobahn where you can go as fast as you want, but most of the time you're kind of floating around like 100, 120 kilometers an hour.
But there's also like suggestions. Like you can drive however fast you want, but we do suggest that you keep it to this. I've heard. Even the fastest part.
Yeah, I mean, in the city, it's like, 50? Is that right?
That's the limit.
Yeah.
Within the city, it's 50 kilometers an hour, which is probably like 35 miles per hour or something like that.
Anything really funny ever happen to you while driving in Germany, Berlin?
One time those who know me know that I tend to get a little road ragey when I drive. A little, not so bad. Anyways.
Like calling the Pope a little Catholic.
So, one thing did funny, right after we got the car, fucking Christ. Right after we got the car, we had to take it back to the dealer we bought it from because we were having some strange engine noise issue. And so we're kind of like, we're cruising along, and we get to this point where you sort of go off an exit and you land, it's sort of an exit off of a freeway, not like a highway. And there you go around this big curve until you get to this like municipal road, and there's this dude behind me, and he was just like riding my fucking ass all the way like around this curve. And the speed limit had dropped down to 30 kilometers an hour because it was a really tight curve. And he was like really like insistent and behind me. So, after we got around the curve, the lane opened up to 2, and I let him pass me. And when he passed me, I did this passive aggressive thing where I put a middle finger out of the window, and drives past, then gets in front of us, and then slows down and stops the car. I'm like, oh God, here we go. And he gets out, and it's a fucking cop. It's like a very, very angry, like bald, middle-aged cop, but he didn't look like, he wasn't driving a patrol car, and he wasn't really dressed like, someone who's working the beat. He looked like he was like an administrative level cop or something. And he comes out, and he comes right up to the window, and he's like fucking pissed, flaming mad. I'm like, oh shit, I am so fucked. I'm losing my license. Like, we just got this car. This is terrible. And he comes out, and he's just like fucking screaming, yelling at me like, oh, what do you give me the middle finger? Blah, 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 blah. And then I just sort of like shrugged, and I was like, tut mir leid. And then he like just stormed back in his car and walked away. That was crazy. But like,
You act like an asshole, you're gonna get the finger.
but that's the thing. It's like, you know, he should know the law. He's a fucking cop. And he was the one actually breaking the law by like following me way too close and like driving too fast.
Exactly.
So I feel like I should be able to write him a ticket.
Yeah, at least you get a free pass for the finger, you know? Free passes for fingers.
There's certain clubs here that
That's true.
give you that too.
Yeah. Enforced by the door people.
Anything weird happened to you? Well, you got a license. Oh, this is also something people are probably curious about. So we were able, because we're Washington State drivers and had Washington State driver's licenses, that we were able to just exchange our licenses after we, did our immigration process here. But not all states' licenses can do that. So like
Susie's got the California license.
Yes.
She has to go through German driving school.
yeah, which is quite expensive and takes a long time.
Yeah.
So
And very difficult, apparently.
since you've gotten your license, have you had any like crazy mishaps or wacky hijinks?
A lot of people don't know this, but Europe uses kilometers, not miles.
What?
It's a true story. And they're different than normal miles. They're like, what? Either twice as much or half as much.
1.7.
Something like that. It doesn't matter. So,
That makes sense.
so me and Euless, we rented a car like when we first moved here, and we were driving to Zwickau, Germany for this tattoo convention. And he had kind of like passed out. We were night driving, and he'd kind of passed out in the car. So sometimes they have blocks on rental cars where you can't go over like 120 kilometers an hour or something. So I wanted to see how fast I could get it. And I got it up to maybe like 200 kilometers an hour. And Euless wakes up and he goes, "Dude, how fast are we going?" I'm like, 200 kilometers an hour? He's like, "How fast is that?" "I don't know, man, but it feels really fast." But there was another time, this wasn't in Germany, but in Ireland, a lot of people don't know this, unless you've been to Ireland or lived there or anything. But Southern Ireland uses kilometers, and Northern Ireland uses miles.
Yeah, because they use miles in the UK also. But
And there's no sign that tells you when you've changed. So I'm driving the kilometer speed limit in Northern Ireland, and everybody's passing me like fucking crazy and honking and yelling and shit like that. And I'm like, what the fuck is these people's problem? I'm doing like even 10 kilometers over even. People in Northern Ireland drive like mad, And then finally I realized it because, usually on a rental they'll have the miles and kilometers on the same speedometer, at least in Ireland, in case this happened. And then I sped up to miles, and then everything went fine after that. But yeah, that was a weird realization. I didn't think that would happen in one country, that it would change that quickly without even a notification, But the funny thing was I had Southern Irish plates on the car. I rented it in Dublin. So, all these people in Belfast were like, "Oh, fucking Southerners, I hate these pieces of shit," It's like, way to add to the troubles that already exist, So I'm not much of a diplomatic peacekeeper by any means.
no?
No, I've never been accused of that. Driving on the wrong side of the road is always a good time too. Or they say the opposite side of the road. If you say to an Irish person, "Yeah, you guys drive on the wrong side of the road." No, it's not the wrong side. It's the opposite side.
Oh, because they drive on the left.
Yeah, and I always say, "Well, we drive on the right side of the road," which is, true. Technically the right side of the road.
Driving on the Autobahn in Germany is really weird because you'll feel like you're going really fast and you're maybe like pushing like 150, even 160 kilometers an hour. And then all of a sudden, someone in like a BMW comes cruising behind you,
Right.
going like 270 kilometers an hour. And like, it's really kind of reckless. They'll come right up behind you and they'll just ride your ass until you like get out of the way as fast as possible because they are like on a mission. And like, What's strange is like somehow with the traffic flow here, I feel like there's fewer accidents in the US, but when there are accidents, particularly on the Autobahn, they are like crazy bad. We were on our way back from Münster, and I think we had like stopped in is it Magdeburg?
Yeah.
Stopped in Magdeburg for dinner and get back on the freeway, and it's probably like 9:30 at night, and we've got about another hour or so to get home.
Go for it, dude. Whatever.
Yeah, that guy just gives zero fucks.
He's still going from last night.
So what happened was, we're on the freeway getting home, and there was an accident, like, kind of a bad accident. Maybe a car flipped over or something like that, and all the traffic was stopped. Well, maybe in the States, they would get a crew over there really fast to kind of shovel everything over to one side and open up one lane of traffic so everyone could get past.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas here, they shut down the entire fucking thing until the entire accident is cleaned up.
Oh, shit.
So we were stuck there for what,
Oh.
3.5 hours? 4 hours. And traffic was just backed up forever. It was late. There's all these like people with kids, and the kids are all crying, and people are taking like little bathroom trips up the way. And what was really fucked up, it was like, I would say it was like what, 1 in the morning?
In the night, on a weekday.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like a Sunday or Monday or something. People had fallen asleep in their car because you're sitting there for fucking 4 hours. You can't keep your engine running the whole time. So people had like passed out in the front seat of the car, and then all of a sudden they opened up the traffic. But there's like still people asleep in their car. So so now everybody is like swerving around. Everyone's like fucking freaking out, like super mad, and like. But it was so crazy that they made you wait the entire time. Like we could have been in and out of there in like 30 minutes, but instead we had to sit there and wait for 4 hours while they got little dustpans and like sweep up all the little like pieces of glass and
just
shit.
Use the opposite lane as a coming and going.
Sure.
Have a stoplight at each.
Or
each
imagine it
section.
would be like fucking 100 degrees outside.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
have
or
the
freezing.
AC running for 4 hours, you're running out of gas.
I think there's less accidents on the German driving system because it does cost so much money to get a license, and they really do run you ragged with the school till when you get out, you really know how to fucking drive.
Yeah, could be. I mean, it's still, despite how expensive it is to get licenses, people still drive like shit out here, man.
Yeah, of course. I mean, everybody's gonna drive like shit everywhere, It's just human nature, You're never gonna have a society of perfect drivers.
That'd be weird.
Yeah. Your paradise.
I'd still find a way to complain about it.
Oh yeah. You've lived in Germany for a minute.
That man yielded too nicely.
The Germans always find a way to complain. And when you live here long enough, you kind of acclimate to that as well.
Yeah. I'm not sure where all of my road rage came from. I mean,
Dad.
but he wasn't really a road rager.
I don't know.
He's too vanilla. He's like a beige wall.
It's just always funny.
Like someone eating a mayonnaise sandwich on white bread in front of a beige wall.
It's always the knee jerk though to blame somebody's rage on the dad,
Yeah.
Because 9 times out of 10, it's pretty valid accusation.
Well, maybe it comes from my mom, actually.
You ever tell the story about how your dad would drive?
This is actually a good.
Classic.
That's good. So growing up, we come from a different generation of
Drinking and driving.
drinking and driving, drinking while driving. My dad is known for always kind of having a cocktail. Like he really liked whiskey sours, call them the regular. And growing up as a kid, I never thought this was strange at the time, but he always had a drink a cup holder mounted to the dash
With a whiskey sour in it.
with a whiskey sour in it.
regular.
With a regular. And, I was just like, oh,
Constant.
that's just having a beverage, I've got like my juice box or whatever, like cruising around.
Saturday morning grocery run, he's slamming a whiskey sour. But the thing is you got to realize, with kids like you and your sisters, I'd be drinking all the time too.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say I blame him.
But I always thought it was funny the when you realized that wasn't the normal.
Yeah.
When you drove with other people's parents and you're like, where's their cocktail? What are you talking about?
Yeah. So I'm like hanging out with like some friends. I think it's like soccer practice or something. I was like, oh yeah, blah blah blah. Just driving around with my dad. You guys just drink, and they're like, what do you mean, like coffee? And I'm like, no, it's like just a whiskey drink with ice. And you're like, while he's driving? I'm like, yeah, I mean that everyone's dad does that, right? And they're like, no. Like, no, not everyone's dad does that. And I'm like, oh, well,
It's the best.
guess your dads are squares.
I mean, granted, though, as soon I was raised also in a time where that was just acceptable. As soon as we all had licenses at 16, we were all and able to drive cars. We were drinking in the car, driver drinking, passenger drinking. We didn't think anything of it. It's not until they started doing the Mothers Against Drunk Driving, like seminars where they yell at you and stuff, that we realized, wow, this is really kind of a dangerous thing. You could actually kill somebody, and then that's on you. So now, yeah, I don't necessarily frown on driving drunk. People do whatever the fuck they want to, but I ain't gonna do it myself. And I appreciate it if the driver doesn't as well.
Yeah. Driving drunk is just fucking sketchy.
Yeah, it's just it's like playing Russian roulette with other people's lives, and I prefer not to do that.
Yeah. I told you the Pete J story, right?
Which one?
After the Singles Going Steady Christmas party.
Okay.
Oh,
So this is El Corazon, right?
yeah.
Okay.
This is a good story. So the well-known punk record store in Seattle, Singles Going Steady, the owner used to have a Christmas party every year, and he would book basically the best bands in the Northwest to play. And for some reason, he decided to have Meshkia open.
Come on, you guys are amazing.
But it was a stacked lineup. It was the Epoxies, the Spits, and the Briefs, and us. So it was an incredible show. So we opened. I went with Pete, and Pete had a pickup truck, so we drove in his pickup truck, and we had all the gear there. So after we finished playing, Pete and I volunteered, and we're like, okay, we're gonna take all the equipment back to I think we were rehearsing at my house at the time. We're gonna take the gear back to the rehearsal room, drop everything off, and then we'll come back to the show. So, we leave for a little bit. We come back, I think the Spits had just finished. We're like, okay, cool, like time to like party and have like, a good rest of the night. We kind of get separated at that point. And there's like people that were like, one thing that was notorious about that band is that people would just come up to us and just hand us shots. Because they were just, they thought that's what you did. And honestly, that's what you
do to a punk Irish folk band.
So
Whiskey.
They're just feeding us shots all night, and we are really like starting to lose, motor skills and function or whatever. But and at one point,
you start to turn bright red.
It's when the red goes away that's actually like the problem.
That's the scary part.
So what happened was we get separated. I black out, take a cab home the next night. And then the next morning, I get a call from Pete, and he's like, dude, you will never believe what just happened. I'm like, what? And he's like, okay, so, we both kind of blacked out at the show. Mm-hmm. And then I, being Pete, I went into my car and started it up to warm it up to drive home, which I totally shouldn't have done, but I did. And then I passed out while the car was running.
Oh, that's dangerous. You can get a DUI for that.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
So he kind of dozed off maybe for like an hour and a half or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he woke up, he was almost out of gas. And he like freaked out. And he looks over and there's somebody in the passenger seat of the...
Where did I drive to?
He's still in the parking lot of El Corazon, and like he looks over and there's someone, he sees someone passed out in the front seat and he thinks it's me.
Uh-huh.
So he's like, oh shit. So he like gets in the car and
I noticed.
and he gets on the fucking freeway, and all of a sudden he turns around, and then there's like, it's not me, but it's like a homeless dude. And the homeless dude's like, oh, whoa, what's going on? And Pete's like, whoa, what the fuck, man? What are you doing here?
Where are we going, Holmes?
And the guy's like, oh, where? He's like, what the fuck are you doing in my car? He's like, oh, it was cold, and you were asleep, and I decided
The door was open, so, you know.
So they're on the freeway.
Had the heater on.
He's like freaking out, you know, he's just like waking up out of like a fucking drunken stupor. He's got
You
some...
can't just drop him off on the side of the freeway, though. You got to take a proper exit. So
Well-
you're stuck with the guy in the car. That's
So
good.
as they're getting like over the Hood Canal Bridge and they're getting into the U District,
So what do they call you anyway?
the, g-
Bastard.
the guy...
Get out of my car at the next exit.
So as they're getting to the U District exit, the guy's like, "Oh, we're really far away from where we got in. Is there any way you could take it?" And Pete's like, "Get the fuck out of my car, motherfucker!" Oh my god, that was so fucking funny. That was so crazy.
But you know, I mean, maybe he could have got a little bit of gas money out of the guy if he would have driven him back. You know, he would have been the first Uber driver ever. You know.
Well, I mean, I also think it's funny that he thought the homeless guy was me.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of state was I in?
I
at that
mean,
age?
no, but he was wasted, not even paying attention.
Yeah.
You know.
To be fair, I guess the guy was dressed in all black, so.
Yeah, exactly. He's dressed in black. It's dark. PJ's drunk. You
Yeah.
know. Did you grow up holding your breath in the tunnel when you were a kid?
No, but when we went through tunnels, we used to honk a horn.
Yeah.
We used to make my dad honk the horn because it was like good luck or something like that.
Real fucking annoying to the other driver.
Yeah, in retrospect, now that I think about it, like,
Yeah.
yeah. As soon as we get in the tunnel, honk the horn, and we're like, "Mer, mer."
And then on road trips, you do this to truck drivers, so
Yeah.
that they blast the air horn.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's what that was for.
Is that a pretty standard thing?
I thought that was to make a little money when you're running out of gas on tour.
Next truck stop, pull over. I'll do some of this to you.
Hey, miss.
Little half and half around the world.
So one thing about Berlin, a lot of people don't realize, and particularly a lot of people that live there don't have cars, so they're always traveling by train or public transportation. So when you're driving by car, you quickly discover that the entire city is completely sieged by construction. And all of the districts in Berlin, they don't have like a coordinated city planner that works with all of them to coordinate all of the traffic issues. So each district or neighborhood or whatever basically like sets out their own schedule for all of these like public works that they need to do during the year, and none of it's coordinated. So this entire time that we've started this recording, we've been just trying to get out of the city and onto the freeway, and it's actually taken us just a little under an hour, like, you know, roughly 40 minutes, which is honestly a record.
Yeah, we did real good.
Yeah, normally it takes almost an hour to get
Wasn't
through
really any
to get through the city.
shutdowns or yeah.
There was one other funny thing. So
Okay.
in Berlin, at least there used to be, I don't know if this is so much the case these days, but when I first moved there was always a bunch of shops and businesses that seemed like they were two completely random shops mixed together.
Okay.
So
On the Autobahn?
just in general in the city. So
Okay. Gotcha.
I'll make a connection here. The reason why I thought of this is there's a car that just drove by which said Fahrschule, which is driving school.
Mhm.
So, one of the shops would have been like a flower shop that sold bongs. And I'm like, okay, I guess that's a business here. There's another one in my neighborhood that sells
You can put flowers in a water bomb.
Pillow-
That could look cool.
fabric pillows that are made to look like cuts of meat, like steaks and hams and stuff. But they also sell like used clothes.
Okay.
But
So
they-
this is the premise of their store is pillows that look like cuts of meat.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what the reason why I thought of this is that one of the things was a driving school and a wine shop.
Oh, yeah.
So it was combined. So there was like you could get like your driving classes and then
Yeah.
go get your bottle of wine afterwards and drive home with it. Okay, so we never really explained what we're doing. So
What are we doing?
so we are on the road to Dresden,
Uh-huh.
and Dresden,
Right. This is our trip.
yeah. So we are on our way to Dresden. We're gonna spend the weekend there. We're getting a place to stay in downtown, and then tomorrow we're gonna be hiking through Sächsische Schweiz, which is Saxony, Swiss. It's like a really beautiful rocky area. We went out there during the lockdown the first time together. I think
Oh, it's amazing.
when it was like super snowing and stuff.
Snow everywhere, and since it was a lockdown, there was hardly any people. So we had the whole place to ourselves. It was like a winter
Wait.
magical place, whatever you call it.
Yeah, magical winter place.
Yeah, a winter wonderland.
Winter Wonderland, that's it.
I think that's the word for it.
Okay,
Yeah, so
so
we're doing it again.
Yep.
And we're gonna stop in Dresden before we hit that, and spend the night in Dresden. And maybe we take the mics and walk around the Altstadt
yeah, I think so,
a bit.
for sure.
Okay, we'll try it anyway. See what happens.
See what happens.
So okay, stay tuned for round 2 of the mobile podcast season finale, episode 10. All right, ciao.
And just in time for a fucking traffic jam.
Here we go. Okay, this is a good place to cut it then. Cut.
Fuck.